All right, well, welcome to the first episode of Cracking the Code. Kris Weaver in person, the man, the legend. How you doing today?
Hey, good to be on Cracking the Code for episode number 1. Thanks, Sergio.
One of thousands, hopefully. Good, it's a long time I don't see you, brother, and we're gonna see each other next week, Groove Cruise.
I'm looking forward to it. Time to get married on a ship.
Welcome to the club.
That's right.
All right, brother. Well, I wanted to invite you because I know that your expertise in real estate with over 25 years. You have a lot of experience. You've been through ups and downs, the crisis of the 2008, the COVID crisis, and so forth. You know, you're the man to talk about real estate trends and future in general. So I wanted to start by asking you a very simplistic question: is how was 2024 for you overall?
You know what's funny is actually you're probably the fourth person that's asked me that question in the last week. So I'm kind of prepared for it. 2024 is a very interesting year. It seemed like it started out really, really slow, and I think for many the first quarter was a bit slow, and then it seemed to build and build and build. What was interesting about 2024 is it didn't feel like a really robust year. But when I look at the numbers, I actually wrote them down here. We had an 80% increase in our sales volume. We went from 178 million in 2023 to 320 million in 2024, which is, that's obviously bananas growth, but it felt like it was good. And I can't really tell you why it only felt good.
Awesome to the craze of 2020 and 2021. And then when it jumped to 2022 and 2023, it felt like, wow, started to go down.
Yeah.
And then 2024 felt normal again. Because that's what a lot of my clients in the virtual assistant company felt like. It was a 1990 kind of party in 2021, 2020. 2022 was and then 2023 was a slash. And then 2024, like, okay, we're back to normal, right? So
it's kind of like you got used to some sort of stimulant and then you took it away. And now you're just back to normal again, but it's good. But anyway, things were up, didn't feel like it, but hey, I feel blessed.
What do you think that is? Because I have an array of clients throughout the United States. What do you think that your particular success, so to speak, in 2024 became a reality? Whereas, people in other markets suffer a lot. I even have clients that went underwater and had to completely sell their companies. Why particularly you succeeded in 2024? What do you think is the formula?
Well, at our company, so we have the company with about 90 agents, and then we have a real estate team with about 15 agents. But because I used to run the real estate team is actually still my name. It's the real estate company as a whole is a highly managed, highly accountable group of agents. So I think that accountability helps because I kind of came from a team environment and I'm applying those team principles to the agents. I also, my managing broker stepped down at the beginning of the year last year, and I stepped in. I think she did a great job, but I might take a little bit different approach, a little more of a let's go kind of, calling people on their actions, making sure that they're following through. And then, of course, our team is led by someone who is, doing daily meetings, daily huddles, and holding the agents accountable. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Sadly, last year, I was so focused on operations, and I think you and I probably talked about this before, but I didn't really work that hard on recruiting. So most of that growth that we saw really just came from our existing agents selling more, which I actually had to check the numbers 2 or 3 times to make sure it was right. Hey, complaints.
So now that you said that, where do you foresee the real estate market in 2025 with the current environment? We and it's kind of changing month by month. In November, we thought that Q1 was going to be something. Now everyone is like, okay, it's not going to be that because the Fed might not cut the rates probably for the next 2 sessions. And now, the 10-year yield went up. And everyone is like, okay, we're at 7+ now. What's going to happen? What do you foresee that? Have you accounted for that in your plans?
Yeah. So, when you look at the money supply in the U.S. housing market and just the U.S. economy as a whole, the M1 and M2 money supply is still around 3 times what it was prior to COVID. Okay. And all you got to do is Google M1, M2 money supply chart, and you'll get the Federal Home Loan Bank chart with essentially how much money is in the economy, right? And what you'll see is a line over from 1970 on that kind of slowly went up. And then literally at year 2000, the line went straight up. And then it started to come down a little bit, but really it went up about 350%, but it's only come down about 25 or 30%. So what that tells me is there's still a lot of this cash that's still in the market. Some of it has gone into investments, some of it has gone into crypto, some of it has gone into real estate. But if you look at things, inflation has not gone up 300%, right? Housing values have not gone up 300%. In some cases, 50, 60, maybe 70%. So I think that in some way, shape, or form, it's going to be an inflationary environment. So for someone who owns their own home or wants to buy a home, even though the rates are higher, I think it makes sense to buy, because otherwise they're just going to keep paying more and more in rent. I think if you're looking at commercial property, you're really looking for deals. So right, just as you mentioned before, those rates, the 10-year treasury is really, really high. So commercial rates are also going to be really high. And I think what you're going to see is loans that were created 3 years ago and 5 years ago, which of course commercial paper is only 3, 5, 7 years typically. Those loans are going to come due where the owner is going to have to go, pay an interest rate that's 2 times or maybe 2.5 times as much. And I think that is going to create some opportunity in the commercial housing market. I mean, the commercial real estate market.
A lot of them balloon in December, by the way.
What's that?
A lot of them balloon in December and are also coming due now in January, February, and March. So there's a lot of commercial real estate that is ballooning in the next couple months.
Yeah, so it's really going to depend on what the bank wants to do, because the bank is going to turn towards their borrower. And if the borrower doesn't have the money, they're going to have the choice to foreclose or to extend and pretend. And we know through the last crisis, the last financial crisis back in 2008, the vast majority of banks decided to extend and pretend. Now, I do think there's going to be a lot of owners of CRE that are going to be more likely to want to do something, just because they're not going to want to put themselves in that position with the bank where they're not in favor, with the bank, because, they're not paying as agreed and they're basically having to do a workout arrangement. So I think that there's going to be a few more people that are going to decide to go ahead and make a deal. But I don't think the banks are going to force the property out of a lot of people's hands, because essentially the value of the property has dropped, right? If the cap rates are up and the interest rates are higher, the property's just not going to cash flow as well. So I think that, there's going to be some opportunities there, but not an avalanche. I know back in 2008, 2009, we thought that there would be this avalanche of commercial property because the values came down to probably half or even less than what they originally were. But by and large, the bank did not take those properties back.
Right.
They just worked with the owner.
So let's talk about trends real quick now. AI coming into place. Have you implemented any AI technology in your companies? What trends do you think are going to be, trending essentially in 2025, and that you think that real estate team leaders and brokerage and even solo agents might or need to apply to their companies?
So earlier in second quarter, one of our major initiatives was to make sure that every single person from leadership down to admin started using AI in one way, shape, or form. So what we did is we assessed who was using it and who wasn't. And then we gave them certain tasks to get them used to using it. Now, when you walk around the office and you look at a leader's computer or the marketing director's computer or even an admin person, you see that they're using AI almost all the time. Now, typically it's just, utilizing ChatGPT. I mean, that's the main thing that I think that we're all using. But, I think on the marketing side, there's going to be some opportunities. AI, as far as the ISA world, it's not there yet. I mean, I think when you're talking customer service or automated tech support, maybe that will work. But, you still can't replace that ISA yet. I think that maybe at some point it might be coming, or at least live call analysis and directing the ISA to say the right things at the right time. That might be coming as well. But I think I think we're still a few years out from actually the ISA being, an AI. So, but anyway, to answer your question, yes, we baked it into, every part of the company, and everyone is at least on board, on the train, knows how to use it, and is using it consistently daily.
Do you delegate a lot? Do you consider that you delegate a lot to your admin people, to your to your personnel?
Yeah, so what I've done over the last year and a half, and I think we might have talked about this before, is, before I do something, before I do almost anything, I ask myself, is this something that I could have my VA? Is this something I can have my assistant do? And if the answer is yes, then the next question, of course, is, is there training involved? Is it going to take me an hour to train someone to do something that takes 5 minutes? Or is it going to take me 30 minutes to train something to someone it's going to take 10 minutes, but they can do it for me again and again and again. So I'm always looking at those opportunities because, I'd rather spend my time in the highly dollar productive activities versus doing that kind of work, even higher level work. If I can outsource the higher level work, I'd rather have that done as well. Here's a funny story. So we just started the call with, I'm getting married on a ship, and the ship is called Groove Cruise, right? Well, I know what my unique, and believe me, it has to be unique because you're getting married on an electronic music festival. So I know what my outfit's going to look like. So I sent the parameters of what I want that to look like, which is very particular, very individualized, right? And they came up with something that was perfect for me, and I just got all the stuff ordered, and it's off my plate.
Because you didn't have the time.
Literally. What's that?
Because you didn't have the time, I said, to look for all that. You didn't have the time to go into
Amazon. I didn't want to make the time for it. I'd rather have someone get it done for me. And you know what? They're probably going to look at more photos and make better choices than I would in that realm anyway.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned the M1, the M2. We understand that there's going to be an inflationary economy in 2025, especially with everything that's going on, with the Trump administration talking about tariffs and other stuff. It's very likely that there's going to be an inflationary economy in 2025. And, based on that, we understand that employment might stay steady where it is, or even get reduced a little bit. And then salaries might go up a little bit more. Now, based on that, do you recommend team leaders, brokerage, to use virtual assistants to help with the cost of admin personnel that we know in real estate is probably the biggest expense?
So the main thing I'm looking at here, kind of just looking at the economy and the housing market as a whole, is I think the transaction counts are going to be in most areas up about 10, 15, 20%. Now, there are some areas I know that are suffering right now, and they're probably going to suffer a little bit, going into 2025 as well. But most markets, by and large, are doing fairly well. So I think transaction count's going to be going up. So if transaction count's going to be going up, then you have to figure out, okay, how can I lean into that market? How can I, increase my marketing, increase my presence, or even look at my database? How can I remarket to my database, and get more out of those leads that I have? The market will, continue to have more inventory. That means there's going to be more expireds. I want to make sure I have ISAs calling. On my end, of course, every one of those seats just about is filled with a VA, and just about all of my VAs are with you guys, and you guys are instrumental to our growth. But I think sales volumes are going to be going up. So that means we have to lean into the market. That means being innovative, looking at what we're doing with our marketing, looking at what we're doing with our branding, our outreach, our accountability with our agents. All of those things, come together to increase sales and increase activity.
And you mentioned ISAs. That's probably one of the hottest topics in the last conventions that I was with the Tom Ferry conventions. And I've seen that it's difficult sometimes for companies and team leaders to implement the ISAs. It's probably 50-50 for everyone out there, but I know that you have a successful model that has been working for over 7 years now. And if I remember correctly, you closed like 200 transactions last year using ISA. So, what is your secret sauce?
Well, so going back before the model that we have right now, we probably did what a lot of people do today, which is, they hire a company, they're specifically out there to make those sales calls, right? And typically those people are calling all over the US. So they don't really know, your brand, They don't really know the market, and they're just making these generic calls. Plus, that person at those companies is typically not really a meshed part of your team, right? And we had moderate success. Obviously, we stopped doing it, but we had moderate success doing that before, not success that I wanted to continue with. When we started doing the model that we have, what we did is we initially started with in the office ISAs. That worked, but the cost was too high, especially as we started going into COVID. It was hard to justify the salaries versus the income. When we started working with our outsourced ISA model, what we found is we were getting nearly the same conversion level as we were with the in-house ISAs, but at about 1/3 the cost. And what I found is that works pretty much in any market. You can have up market, down market, or wherever. You're at least neutral to making money, to making a lot of money every month. But what you were asking me is, what is the key difference? The key difference is just like with the in-house people, we treat our ISAs that are working over at VOOV as if they're working in the office. So that we do, huddles with them. We do script training with them. We do call review with them. You guys do a good job at making sure that they show up to work and get their headset on and do all the basic stuff and, the stuff that you would expect, people to do anyway. But, you guys have eyes and ears on those people to make sure that they actually get to work, which is great. But of course, you need me, you need my team leader, you need my operator, to know what the unique things are about our team, what the unique things are about our market. What are my unique selling propositions, and to know all those things, you got to spend time with the person. So, our model works because we treat our ISA team members as team members. It's not like a watch where you just kind of like set it and then forget it and then come back, 2 weeks later and you have 3 new listing appointments. It's just like a team member in your office. So that's the way we treat it. And frankly, I think that's the way anyone wants to be worked with. They want to feel like they're a contributing member, and not just a set it and forget it. And I think when it comes to leadership, that's when it works. That's when people want to come to work. They want to work for you. They want to work hard, and they want to see everyone succeed. So I hope that helps to answer that question.
It helps a lot. Yes, that's probably the best explanation I could have heard about how to use ISAs. But coming from you, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking the time to come today in this first session. I know, these clips are going to help a lot of the colleagues in the industry to understand certain things, especially with the ISA topic that was pretty neat. So, well, thank you again. And, starting the year strong with your wedding next week, and, with your businesses. So, woohoo. I look forward to seeing you next week, and thank you again. All right.
Likewise. I'm excited.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the first episode of Cracking the Code. I'll be interviewing many other industry leaders in real estate, many other guests that are going to provide a lot of content to you and your company. Thanks.